Hello, I'm Valentina Velikova, and welcome to this edition of The Entrepreneur's Way. Today we have a very special guest, an entrepreneur, and coincidentally also the founder of the Entrepreneur's Journey, Yaro Starak. Yaro, welcome to Vancouver
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
and the intrepid entrepreneur.
Exploring a little bit at the moment, yes. Lots of flights.
Absolutely, yes. So, just to sort of get rolling, you're a blogger,
Hmm.
an internet marketer, um, a digital content producer
Oh, yeah.
and developer, traveler galore, and an absolutely blue ribbon holder to the Uber Blogger Club of.
So, know where you were going with that. Okay.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, you're just going. I mean, you're just.
I've
Everybody
been
knows
blogging for a
Yaro.
long time.
You've
Yes,
been
that's
blogging
the
for a
short
long
answer.
time.
Yes.
So now you began your internet career, if you will,
Mhm.
your current career, in 1998
Yes.
while you were at university.
Yes.
Can
18
you
years old.
tell us? Can you tell us a little about what that was like?
Well, you can imagine I was 18 years old, so didn't know what to do with my life. That was the first question to try and figure out, and it was convenient that the internet was growing up at the same time as I was growing up. So I got a free internet dial-up account as part of my university studies and played with the internet. We're talking chat rooms, bulletin boards. There wasn't video. There was no Google, no podcasts, no blogging. It's basic flat website. So I just played around and explored, and mostly about a card game actually that I used to play. I think you know about, called Magic: The Gathering, which is a sort of competitive strategic game that's a bit like poker, but it's got your Lord of the Rings, your elves, your goblins, your dragons, and so on. So I was into that in high school, and that was kind of my gateway to starting some kind of internet business because it was my first website. So a lot of experimentation, but sort of 18, 19, 20, until I eventually decided to do my own website, and that's when it all began.
And when was that? Was the website about this game or?
Yeah, so my first website was, it's funny, back in the day, as part of your internet access, you got a free sort of website address with a squiggly username at the end of the address, and I created a Magic in Brisbane fan site. You know, back in the day, whatever you were a fan of, you'd have a fan site. So I did one of those, and then eventually it became an Australia-wide site, and then turned into an e-commerce store, a little magazine. And my first, it's a business, more like a hobby, but it was making money.
It was good for university shenanigans
Yeah,
at
never
the
had to get a
pub and
job
everything
and things
else.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I wasn't a drinker, but never needed to get a job at McDonald's or anything like that, thanks to selling cards and that sort of thing. So
Have you ever had a job?
I've had a summer sort of casual job, and I had a casual job at university, and never a full-time job. That was the goal: avoid full-time employment. 9 to 5 frightened me a lot. The idea of having to be somewhere at a certain time by someone else's schedule. So that was actually primary goal number one with my business. Avoid that. So you need to make money, obviously, for that to happen. But that was my first goal. So no full-time job.
No full-time job, never. You were one of the earliest, or you belong to that early group of people who said, 9 to 5, not for me.
Mm.
Renegades, really.
That and using the internet to power it.
Power it, yes,
Definitely.
yes. So that really worked well for you.
Mm.
And then the next step was.
Well, the card game website grew. That was actually the first thing, was turning it into a little e-commerce store, going to the post office almost every day. At one point, I was putting cards in envelopes and putting them in the mail. But it only could go so far, I guess, considering how big the Australian marketplace is for cards. Is just not a large audience. So I grew it to the point where $500 to $1,000 a month, but working really hard. There's a lot of going to the post office and not much margin on selling little cards. So to cut a long story short, I wanted to do something bigger, something potentially at least my full-time income, and I was about to graduate from university as well. So I was looking for something else to dig my teeth into, bearing in mind the dot-com bubble had just burst. It was the first one. So I was initially very excited about startups, as we are today still excited about startups. So back then it was just silly because you could have an idea and go out there and not worry about making money from it. But if it had the word .com at the end of it, you know, you could get a lot of funding and do crazy things. So I was unfortunately living in Brisbane. It wasn't exactly the tech hub of Australia or the world, but you know, the opportunity was there. So I wanted to do something bigger, and I was basically trying to find an idea for my next project. So I can tell you about that if you want to know.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a weird combination of things. There was a print magazine called Yahoo magazine.
Oh.
By what you'd expect, Yahoo's website. So back then they were the leading website, I think, before Google. Google was just coming in at that time. So Yahoo was number one. And they had a print magazine. And I read about this guy who was running an essay editing service in the United States from his dorm room at Harvard Business School. And he was making money basically helping people edit entry papers. As I don't think in Canada you do it. Here, Australia we don't do it, but in the States you have to write an essay as part of your application process. So he focused on that as a service, and he did really well. It actually eventually got sold for $1 million to another company. So I liked the idea of potentially doing an editing company, but I thought it's not going to apply the same in Australia because we don't have entry papers, but we do have a lot of international students. And I actually went through an experience with a group assignment as part of my studies, and I had to combine the work of my writing with someone from, I think, the Middle East and someone from Taiwan, and it was very difficult to get our English to be cohesive, in particular trying to combine the international students' academic writing. It was just not good. I felt for them. I don't know how they got through their degree without, you know, having good English or even adequate English. But so I saw an opportunity, basically combining this idea for editing but focusing on international students, and that turned into a company which I called Better Edit. And it was my first sort of, I guess, a startup, you could say. Post-university, I built the website myself. I had my mother's partner and my mother as sort of temporary editors, and then eventually we hired some contractors. And after graduating, that became my main focus, to try and turn that into a full-time income source.
And it did.
It did. It took a bit of work. Obviously, you know, you slowly build some momentum. My life became not typical after that. I basically, once the website was built, I didn't have to do much else besides try and market it. And my main method of marketing was going into university campuses and putting up posters, old school, you know, with the tabs at the end, and proofreading, get better grades. And I went around Australia to the big campuses, and I even actually came to Vancouver. I went to University of BC on one of my trips to Canada, and I went to Toronto University, and I don't think I did Simon Fraser, but I did Hawaii because it was on the way to Canada. And slowly, after probably about a year to 2 years, it turned into my full-time income stream. And for the next 2 or 3 years, that was pretty much how I, you know, paid my bills and my rent and things like that. And it gave me a lot of time, because one of the goals outside of not having a job was to find these businesses that were sort of 2 hour a day to maintain them. That was really important to me, to try and get a lot of time freedom as well as enough financial freedom. And that requires a special kind of business to make it work like that. So thankfully, the proofreading company was one of those businesses, and I had a lot of spare time on my hands, actually, at the time. So,
awesome! Wow! And here we are. We're doing Stanley Park today with Yaro Starak, and right behind us is the skyline of Vancouver. Now we'll continue with our interview with Yaro, and Yaro had mentioned that he started a business that did very well for him, but it wasn't scalable, right?
Well,
or it wasn't with, yeah.
it was scalable, but I didn't want to scale it. That was probably the simplest answer. I was not that excited. It was a proofreading company, and I wasn't that excited about the subject of proofreading. I was excited about starting and growing a business that would pay my bills. But beyond that, I just didn't see myself really throwing myself into it long term. The one benefit I had, as I said before, was it was a very low labor, only an hour or two, especially once I hired my friend who was just about to have her first baby as a stay-at-home mom, and she worked as my sort of customer service person. And once that job of the email was taken away from me, which was pretty much the main role, I didn't have a lot to do, maybe going to put up some posters once or twice a week. That's it. So I had a lot of time in my hands is the short answer, and I was looking for, I guess, something to go bigger, but also something I cared about. That was the problem here. I was making enough money to live. I wanted to make more, but I didn't want to necessarily do it in this industry with this company. So, and we have to put this into context because it was around about 2004, 2003 when I was doing all of this, and that was at the dawn of Google becoming big. Social media kicked off when blogs started to become popular. It was moving away from static websites into more dynamic websites that had comments, that had interactivity. So I was really enjoying getting involved in that world, exploring options. But the blogging came along kind of as like an accident. Someone told me you should start a blog as a way to get traffic from Google for your proofreading company. I didn't know what a blog was. I've been hearing about them a little bit in the press, but I looked at a blog and I said, this is just a website. I don't really understand how this is different from any other website. So to figure that out, I installed a blog on my proofreading company and attempted to write about the subject of proofreading to attract my target customer of international students studying at university. Very dry, very boring subject, writing about proofreading. I struggled to get that blog going, but at least I learned this is what a blog is. You write chronologically, you sort of talk more naturally. It's not corporate speak or like a brochure. You're just talking about your day-to-day life or whatever's going on with your business, whatever it is you're writing about. So I, to my surprise, discovered I really enjoyed writing, especially about running the business, not actually trying to get my clients, but I enjoyed talking about being an entrepreneur. So after 3 months, I realized the proofreading company blog was not going to work. I decided to start a hobby blog about entrepreneurship and called it Entrepreneur's Journey, not really seeing a future for it other than experimenting with writing, really, and seeing what it was like to be a blogger and share on a blog format. So basically running my proofreading company to make money, started the blog, and to my surprise, within 6 months, the blog had an audience, and within 12 months, it was probably making about half as much money as the proofreading company was. I really had a bit of fortunate timing. Blogging was taking off. It was, I won't say easy, but it was easier to get traffic to a blog because you just produce content. You didn't have as much competition. Google loved blogs, and they sent a lot of traffic, and I built a little following. And around the same time, I know you are interested in internet marketing. That's also when I sort of started studying direct response internet marketing. So I was practicing blogging, I was still running my proofreading company, but also learning about email marketing, sales, copy. These guys were starting to do big launches. I think around then there was Butterfly Marketing from Mike Filsaime was the first one I saw. Then Jeff Walker did his product launch formula. John Reese did Traffic Secrets. That was probably the first one before Butterfly Marketing. Long story short, internet marketing products, week-long launches, doing $1 million in sales within a week. And I was blown away by the contrast between these guys running email as their main marketing method and bloggers who just didn't really use email. They were all about RSS feeds and writing lots of content, getting advertisers. So I kind of stuck in the middle of blogging, but also learning and eventually practicing email marketing as well. And that turned out to be really good because I got the best of both worlds. The ability to grow an audience and have trust from blogging, but also have direct response from running my own email list as well.
And welcome back. Here we are in front of Lumberman's Arch, which was put up there to honor the forest industry. It was originally done in 1900s. This is the second iteration and second location. On location today is Yaro Starak. So Yaro, we were talking about your blogging success, the start of it.
What do you want to know?
Well, you were telling us that your blogging began to make about half as much as your other business, and you also had lots of time. Plus, you found that you actually enjoyed writing about the business aspect.
About being an entrepreneur, yes. So I think one of the difficulties I found early on, I think everyone has this challenge, is getting that combination of something that makes enough money, that you enjoy to keep doing it long term, and doesn't take 12 hours a day or more to maintain. I call that like the holy grail. If you can get all three of those things working well, then you've got the perfect kind of business that can, feed a lifestyle. So I got close to my card game website. I cared about the game, but the money wasn't that significant. My proofreading company, the money was better. It was a full-time income, but I just wasn't that much interested in writing or being a proofreading company owner and growing it over time. But with blogging, as I discovered, it certainly wasn't clear to begin with. It was very new, but as I grew into it, it allowed you to have independence in terms of transportation. I could be anywhere with my laptop, and that's what I do now. I basically sit in cafes around the world and write to my blog. It allowed me to put time into something I discovered that I cared about. So I discovered I like writing and I like teaching. It's not something I expected. I turned into basically an information marketer, blogger, teacher type person. And that, again, can be a very elegant business model if you do it on the internet, which does give you that freedom. And it can scale to fairly significant amounts of money without becoming a multiple employee business. I still have never hired a full-time employee in my entire life, and that's been a deliberate choice. I could if I wanted to grow bigger and faster, but I deliberately sort of try to keep my business a lifestyle business. So good money. I'm not talking, 8 figures, not tens of millions of dollars, but way more than one person needs. And elegant, simple, couple of contractors, me writing my blog, teaching courses. And that's pretty much what I do today still. It's 10 years ago, actually, that I started that blog. And I eventually sold off the proofreading company. I sold off the card game website a long time ago. And I decided to become a 100% blogging information marketing teacher person. So.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So somewhere along the way, it wasn't shortly after that you reached the $100,000 a year mark.
Yeah, so that would have been year 3, if I remember right. Because what happened is the first year was 2005. That was experimental, learn about it, started making some money. 2006 turned into a full-time income. 2007 made the big change. I released my first ever training product. So before then, I made money from having advertising on my blog, and I also did affiliate marketing. So I promoted mostly software and courses and live events by other people, and I got paid a commission, usually about 50% per sale on anything I sold of other people's products and services. But as I was learning about with the direct response marketing, the email marketing, there was 2 things that were kind of repeated over and over again that I finally listened to. And one was you have to have a list. You've got to have your own email list. That's how these people made money. And 2, you've got to have your own product. That one's not quite as rigid a rule, but most people seem to make significantly more when they have their own products or a product range or a product funnel, as I'd eventually learn about. So in 2006, I started my email list to go along with the blog. 2007, I did my first ever training program, and that's what led to going over 100,000 for the first time with my blogging company, and then more after that.
So that was the catalyst, was having your own product.
It's all three things. You've
All
got to
three
have,
things. Yes.
yeah, the blog gets you the audience, the email list, you bring the people from the blog to the email list, which gives you a way to directly communicate. And then people are there because they are listening to you. So when you sell your own product, you sell more, you build a tribe. So it's three things: your blog, feeding your email list, and then selling your own products and services.
So we all hear about the ethical bribe, and today it's much more difficult, I believe, to get people to opt in with their names just so that they can hear from you every week or get a newsletter. Did you have an ethical bribe, or what was it?
Yeah, I called it a lead resource. I mean, there's so many different phrases for this. Basically, a free report. So my first ever email offer was quite simple. It was a blog traffic tips newsletter. So I wasn't offering anything more than a sequence of information delivered via email about growing traffic to a blog. Within the next year, though, before I launched my course, I wrote a free report. It took me a month, 50 pages, sat down at a cafe every day. I committed to writing at least 1,000 words. 30 days later, 30,000 words, and I gave away a free report and did a launch. I did a proper launch, and that free report was called the Blog Profits Blueprint. And it was the most important document I've probably ever written in terms of growing my audience, because it got shared a lot by affiliates. It led to most of the people who became my customers discovering me in the first place. And it's still downloaded today. I've updated it since then, but it's still a very important piece of my business. So it's funny though, today free reports are old. And when I did it, it was the hot thing to do. Now it's webinars, it's videos, it's audio series, it's what we're doing now. These sorts of things are the more current way of, as you call it, an ethical bribe of getting people to subscribe to your email list. So.
And here we are at Ferguson Point, with UBC in the background, English Bay, and ships waiting to either load or unload cargo. And continuing with Yaro. Yaro.
Hello.
Hi. Now, we were talking about your blogs taking off and doing so well.
One blog.
One blog
Mm-hmm.
hit the 100,000 mark and continued to grow and grow and grow,
yes.
as you continued to also add content, or not content, I should say courses. Is that
More
correct?
products, yes. More products.
So all digitally delivered.
Yes, I basically started to keep doing what I was doing well. Pretty simple concept. I had one successful course, and then I partnered with a friend of mine. We did a video course, and then I did another course of my own. So pretty much just teaching courses. Still did some advertising, affiliate marketing, and combined it all, but grew everything, and more marketing, more audience, and eventually reached the point where I wanted to do something different. That's actually when I started traveling. So my next step was to travel around the world, to take the computer with me, and actually have some great photographs from that. I did one of my launches from Greece with my friend Gideon back in Australia. I was in Greece. We were coordinating a launch together. So it is pretty amazing. You can literally take your computer with you, have internet wherever you go, and I'm doing it now. I don't have a home actually presently as I talk to you. Wherever I'm staying at, whether it's hotels or Airbnb or cafes, you get the internet. Support my students, support my customers, write my blog posts, do my podcast, and that's running the business.
It's everyone's dream life.
Maybe not everyone's, but
Well,
most people who,
a lot of people,
if you're in a
yes.
job you don't like, or you're not, you have to do something you don't like, or you're not making enough money, then yes, it's certainly. I can't think of any time in history where it's even been possible. So that's a special thing. So.
Now, much of our audience are people who are entrepreneurs, want to become entrepreneurs, perhaps are looking at reinventing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So your story is of great interest to them, of course. Often I've met with entrepreneurs who got to a point and then they weren't able to budge. Nothing moved. And they gave it up as, oh, yes, it didn't work kind of thing. Did you ever have a moment where you had that big rock that you had to either go around or
big rock, heavy, a wall I hit with my business.
Yeah.
Well, like an entrepreneur, I've had more certainly website ideas that I've started and then not gone anywhere with, and I've had successes. There's way more failures than successes. I think a lot of it comes down to learning to really rapidly experiment with ideas, not get too attached to them, but at the same time, if something is working, to really go all in. One of the biggest problems I notice, especially with internet marketing, because it is so easy to jump from idea to idea. You can start a new website tomorrow and abandon the one you're working on right now. It's really important that you do have some sort of strategy behind what you're doing. And I think that for me is probably where, especially my students, a lot of people coming from a background where they hear about people like myself who are making money with some kind of website. They think I'm going to do the same, but they haven't really done enough of that research into demand in a marketplace, and also self-reflection that they have some kind of strength to get an advantage in something about what they're doing that makes them stand out, makes them different. And that can take a while to figure out. Like, it took a while for me to figure out that I'm actually not that bad at writing, and that translates really well to a blog and also to teaching products. So I get the benefit of the strength I have as an advantage to my business. So, whatever it is, you might be fantastic at video and recording and really enjoy the process of setting up all the video. Maybe you love to do audio and podcasting is your thing and you're going to do audio products. Maybe you've got a strength in a different area, like knowledge of a certain subject. You've spent an entire career being an engineer on airplanes, and you're going to translate that to something online. So there's something you can tap into. The problem is not having that and then doing a business just because someone said, hey, you can make money setting up websites, or hey, you can make money podcasting, or hey, you can make money on YouTube, and just trying these things without really having any connection to a strategy, a strength, and then, of course, now, today, more important than ever, making sure there is a marketplace where people spend money that you're going to try and tap into. Because unfortunately, on some level, today it's harder because of the competition. On one level, that is unfortunate. On another level, it's a great thing because the internet itself is significantly larger. So when I started, there weren't very many people doing what I did, which was great because I didn't face much competition, but also the market was tiny. We were all fighting for a smaller audience. It was big because it was the internet, but today it's much larger. So if you can find your little corner on the internet, your little space, your little specialty, and there's people that spend money in that area, you just have to go there and be a really high value provider, and you can have a business around it. So I think for me, to answer the question with that wall, I did exactly what I'm saying. I started websites about subjects like personal activism. I had an MP3 music website. I've had lots of little software scripts. These are all ideas that I got excited about, but I didn't have a strength in them. I didn't really have a business model. It was sort of like, let's throw it out there and try and figure out a way to make money from it. And that's okay, maybe when you're 21, 22, when you've got time to fail a lot. But if you want to get somewhere where you're making money, you've got to be strategic. You've got to have a business model, and you've got to go after something where you see yourself fitting in with some kind of strength. Like today, I would never go after something that I didn't really feel there was a future because of those things ticking the boxes right. So.
Very interesting. And once again, you are at the crossroads. You left Australia.
Yes.
You're visiting here. You're on your way to San Francisco. You're looking, scoping.
Yes.
Would you like to talk to that a bit? People have very difficult times not throughout, but at points in their life. And you recently had one.
Yeah, 3 years ago now. So my mother was in hospital and she passed away after 2 years after having a stroke. That's certainly a catalyst for changes. Even while my mother was in hospital, I spent 2 years basically going to a hospital every day. So on one level, fantastic. I had the kind of business I did to have the freedom to do that, but also it's very, very disruptive to our whole family. So that's different. it's even funny coming to Canada because for me, Canada is where my mom and dad are, and I have a lot of memories of traveling with family. Not to Vancouver as much as Toronto. I'm sorry, guys, but going to Toronto for 3 weeks to see my grandmother, to see my aunt and my uncle, and even my grandfather when I was really, really young. So this is a different kind of experience, I guess. A crossroads to a degree. The one thing I haven't done in a while is travel, even though I have traveled 5 or 6 years ago. I haven't really packed up the laptop and done this for a while. And for those people who've ever been to Australia, while it's a fantastic place, it's really far away from everything. So if you want to attend events, which is something I really want to do, I want to be around more people who are involved in technology and in entrepreneurship. And obviously San Francisco is a bit of the mecca for that. So I definitely want to go check out that area. I've got some friends there. But I also want to be just closer to North America for a while. And this sounds funny, but I'd actually like to be somewhere where it's not so hot. I'm getting tired of the heat in Australia. So Canada's lovely and cool. So
It's lovely
yeah,
and cool.
and I have the benefit of having Canadian citizenship as well as Australian citizenship. So I can be in Canada for as long as I like. So I'm thinking I'll be spending some time in North America and see where the wind blows more than anything. But thankfully, having the kind of business I do, there's no pressures. I can actually, right now, I'm making it up as I go along. Literally, where I might go tomorrow, I'm not entirely sure. Wherever the next event is on, but I'm sure there'll be something that'll come along, and it'll be like, I want to stay here a little longer. I really like it here, or the people I'm meeting are great, whatever it is. So we'll see what happens. But grateful to have the opportunity to even do something like that. I think, like you said, it's pretty rare to be able to not have responsibilities. I'm also don't have any kids, so I haven't got that responsibility. So really quite free at the moment.
So North America calls.
Yes, we'll see what happens. A lot of people in North America.
A lot of people
Yeah,
in North
a lot
America,
to see,
big
right?
market, and
Yeah.
really a very, very active area in your specific genre, so to speak.
Yes.
Well, we'd love to welcome you up
Yeah,
here.
well,
Yeah.
Vancouver might win if you want to, give me
All
the
right, we'll
give me the pitch for Vancouver. We'll see where I end up.
Any parting words of wisdom to entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, and people who are thinking, you know what? It's always been in the I want to ditch the 9 to 5.
Well, I mean, beyond what we just talked about with making sure you've got the strength and the market research and choosing a business model, I think it's really important to focus on the little everyday actions that get a step forward, some kind of movement forward, because a lot of people, they have sort of, I guess, two different ends of the spectrum. They make the mistake of either being too quick to jump from idea to idea, or being too slow and not actually creating things that lead to making some kind of income stream. It's, the analysis paralysis, or wanting to spend a lot of time just feeling something out. Unfortunately, the internet, well, it's not really unfortunate, it's really how the world works, but the world rewards value creation. So if you're not actually creating value for other people, then you're not going to get a result. And you don't even know whether it's going to work until you start creating things for other people. So for me, the most important piece of advice any entrepreneur can take is keep looking for how you can create more and more value, and focus on that as your core action to undertake every single day. And that's what leads to everything: financial rewards, growth, larger audience, opportunities. Everything comes from you creating value for others. So, I suggest you ask yourself on a daily basis, have I created value? Am I working on something that creates value for other people? And if you're not, then you need to adjust to change that, because nothing will happen without that value being created.
So that brings us to the conclusion of talking with Yaro. And we're just going to go across the street to the Stanley Park Tea House for some lunch. Yaro, thank you so very, very much. This has been very enjoyable.
My pleasure.
And I'm sure that everybody watching this is going to say, I want to know more about this Yaro and his products. So we'll have something on that.
Awesome.